Hello everyone, Rani here. Welcome back to my channel. I was thinking about the stressful times we all live in right now, and I thought it would be a good idea to create several videos about stress, how stress affects our body, and what is involved in the process of stress. So that's why today's video I titled How Stress Affects Your Body. Before I continue, I just wanted to make a very quick disclaimer that this is meant to be strictly educational and it's not to be a substitute for the advice from your medical provider. With that said, I wanted to continue about stress and what is involved. It's important to note that the studies of stress was done by Dr. Hans Selye in 1930s, and he came up with the term general adaptation syndrome. And he discovered that there are three phases of stress: alarm, resistance, and exhaustion. This is just the basics of the stress studies. Another great definition of stress, which was done by one of my great mentors, Mr. Reed Davis, who is the founder of the FDN and the Functional Diagnostic Nutrition Studies. And he says this: stress is any influence, internal or external, that causes or leads to malfunction. So Mr. Davis, he has a great, and I give him credit for all these different teachings on stress, and he actually says that stress, no matter what the reasons for stress, it all leads to malfunction in the body, or the so-called metabolic chaos. And we're going to talk in a moment exactly what that means. And it's very important to know which endocrine glands are really concerning stress. And here I made the picture of the human body, and this would be in a view from the back. So as you can see, the kidneys right here, and then the endocrine glands of importance are the adrenal glands, and here they are. There are two adrenal glands on top of each of the kidneys, and I call them like spark plugs, or they're like little hats on top of the kidneys. Anyhow, these adrenal glands are of major importance about our everyday productivity, just the way of life, and I will show in a moment why. So here I wanted to explain a little bit a closer look as the structure. I'm not going to make this anatomy lesson, but I just wanted, for the sake of knowing what we're talking about, just to briefly explain how the structure, what is the structure of the adrenal gland. So the adrenal gland has a capsule, and then it has two regions. One is the so-called the cortex, and then this is the medulla, or the inner part of the adrenal gland. So the cortex has several layers, and this is using the mnemonic GFR, learning it back at school, but it stands for zona glomerulosa. Those are anatomic terms, so I'm not going to dwell on it. Zona fasciculata and zona reticularis. But what is important about these different zones in the cortex of the adrenal gland is that they produce the steroid hormones, and they're of major importance to the overall well-being of the body. So in this zone, glomerulosa, the main hormone produced is aldosterone. And the important part about aldosterone is that it's very, it's concerning the mineral balance, or the electrolyte balance in the body, especially the potassium and sodium, and the water balance as well. So the next one, the zona fasciculata, that's about 80% of this area, and the major part, or the major hormone produced in there, is cortisol, and that's what we're going to focus in a little bit, what cortisol is all about. So the last hormone here in the cortex, it's actually called DHEA. That's an androgen hormone, and actually the long name is dehydroepiandrosterone. I know it's a long name, but just for short it's DHEA. So from functional perspective, it's very important to remember that interactions between these two, the ratio between these two hormones, the cortisol and the DHEA, because cortisol in higher amounts, and I will explain in a moment, but it can have a negative effects on the body. So that's where DHEA comes in, actually negates the negative effects of cortisol. So this is very important to remember from functional perspective. And then next part is this little middle, this little center area here of the adrenal medulla. It's called medulla. And what is important about this is that when you hear about adrenaline, this is where the adrenaline is produced. So it's all the hormones that are produced in here. It's epinephrine, which is another name for adrenaline, and also norepinephrine. It's just like a little different form of epinephrine, but both of them are called catecholamines. And what is important about these hormones is that they are responsible for the so-called flight and or fight response. So here I wanted to focus very briefly on the production of cortisol, specifically from zona fasciculata. And why is it so important? Because cortisol is the main stress hormone in the body, along of course with adrenaline, especially in acute situations, but it's affecting the body in a profound way, and I will explain exactly what happens. One of the major effects on the cortisol on the body is the anti-inflammatory effect. So this is good when people are experiencing some kind of trauma or inflammation or infection or any kind of physical or emotional stress. Then cortisol kicks in and deals with that situation. So that's great if it's just for that period of time to make sure that the stressor is removed or just helps the body to cope with it. But what happens is when the cortisol action continues for a prolonged period of time, or like say in many situations might be necessary to be introduced as a medication to deal with certain situations. So if it's in a long period of time, then a lot of negative side effects on the body can happen. And I will explain exactly how. So this is the next point. So besides the anti-inflammatory function of cortisol, the next point is that cortisol actually affects the metabolism of the body, specifically the proteins, fats, and the carbohydrates. For the sake of the stress studies, we're going to focus on cortisol and carbohydrates because it has a profound effect. And this is what happens. So we know that the main fuel for the brain is the glucose. And so what happens during stress or any other kind of stressors that are affecting the body, so the brain sends signal to the adrenal glands to produce more cortisol to deal with that stress. So as the glucose is needed as a main fuel, that's exactly the effect of cortisol on the carbohydrate metabolism. It's actually striving to produce more glucose so there will be enough energy for all the processes needed that are going on during that time. So what happens is that basically cortisol increases the blood sugar levels. So this is fine again if it's only during that time of the dealing with the stress situation. But if the body is not given time to recover after that acute or a stressful situation, and these effects continue, imagine, day after day, week after week, month after month, and not even in many cases some people experience stress for many years. Then what happens is that, as this is the effect of cortisol on the blood sugar, then what happens? The blood sugar increases, and if it's going on a continual basis, then that's how people can develop hyperglycemia, which means increased blood sugar levels in the blood, or diabetes, and many other symptoms or syndromes concerning elevated blood sugar levels. So this is an important point. So very briefly, so besides the anti-inflammatory, also the effects on metabolism, cortisol can actually increase the blood pressure. How? Because cortisol's effect on the blood vessels, of course, constricts them, makes them smaller. The diameter of the blood vessel is smaller, so that causes actually increase on in the blood pressure. So again, now the long-term effects, what constricted blood vessels can cause. It can cause heart attacks, strokes. Hopefully not, but those are kind of effects for the long term. If people don't pay attention for their bodies, those are the long-term effects of the constricted blood vessels, the high blood pressure that can happen. So in a way, it's a vicious cycle that has to be stopped. and the body has to be restored. So besides all these three major effects on the body that I mentioned, also cortisol has effects on the gastrointestinal system. It can affect also the immune system. It just has an effect on all different systems in the body. In closing, I just want to mention this. Why is it so important to know the effects of the cortisol, and especially the long-term effects of cortisol in the body? Because of these negative side effects. If the body is not given time to rest and recover, basically people don't have time for the adrenal glands to recharge and wake up on empty. Those are like spark plugs or like little batteries that keeps us going, the adrenal glands. And what happens is it's actually creating a vicious cycle. If there is no time to rest, then people are waking up tired in the morning. They cannot be productive. They reach for sugars and sweets and caffeine to keep them going. So this puts more strain on the endocrine system, and especially on the adrenal glands. And then people can be brain fog, can experience brain fog, couldn't think straight, can have like digestive symptoms, gastrointestinal problems. There's so many other reactions, and pretty soon they can start developing headaches. They can start even feeling dizzy upon standing and wonder why these symptoms are developing. Well, this all correlates also with the cortisol. It's at least one avenue to think about. Again, we're not diagnosing anything as FDNs. This is the job for the doctors. Doctors are great in finding the extreme elevation, like say of the steroid hormones, which is called Cushing's disease. If it's insufficiency, complete insufficiency, it's called Addison's disease, and the symptoms. But what happens in the meantime, before these end stages of this extreme elevations or the deficiencies of these hormones, then people still don't feel well. They still might have headaches, brain fog, feeling dizzy, not feeling good, and yet there is no explanation. And a lot of times they might hear from the doctor as well. Maybe it's just old age, you're getting older, or maybe it's in your head, but that's not always the case. So I just wanted you to be aware of what the vicious cycle is, and a lot of the things that people can actually do by just changing some of their lifestyle elements or factors in their life. So one of the two takes away from this, we all know the scenario. People wake up tired in the morning, don't have time for breakfast, being stuck in traffic, the adrenaline keeps pumping up, you're in a constant flight or fight response, stress through the roof, and then barely able to get to work, but you're grabbing for the donut and the coffee. Now, if you have donut and a coffee every once in a while, yeah, you might pay the price for the next day or two, but it's not as detrimental as if this is going to be a daily occurrence. If you reach for the coffee and donuts and all the other sugary breakfasts every morning, that's inevitably it's going to affect your health long term. So just be aware of it. Those are the two tips. Watch the sugar intake, of course, and the caffeine intake. Now, I personally switched. I like the taste of coffee, so time to time I would drink decaf coffee. And it's very important to know that if you to switch to decaf coffee, I personally purchased the so-called water decaffeinated coffee. It's a special process, and the decaffeination, the removing of caffeine, is done by water, a natural process, not by using heavy-duty chemicals that a lot of times happens. So we can discuss this in a different video. The next video will include 5 tips as to how to de-stress naturally. I hope that this video was helpful to you. Hope it was not too long, but I really wanted to get this point across. So I just want to thank you for watching this video. Have a great day, have a great week, and we'll see you the next time. Bye bye.